Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. A special episode today. It's the 300th episode of the show, milestone. Also, a fun episode we're going to have here with Sandy and our grandson Alex, who, we've been traveling through Canada and Alaska. We're now in Washington State, just a couple days before Alex will start his own departure back to Pennsylvania. By the time this goes out, we will have separated, and he'll be on his way back to Pennsylvania. We'll be slowly making our way back to Pennsylvania with some book signings in between, but we just wanted to kind of get the three of us on the show. Number one, because it's the 300th episode, so we wanted it to be special. And number two, we just wanted to kind of talk about our summer adventure throughout Canada and Alaska. So it's been a blast. It's been awesome having you along with us, Alex. A lot of fun. You're wearing your Alaska Skagway hat now.
It's nice to see that hat on him.
But we've started talking about this trip with our friends back in September of 2022. So really, little under 2 years in the planning.
Mm-hmm.
I think we first mentioned it to you right around your graduation.
Right around then, yeah.
So, about a year for you. Now we've got it under our belt. We've gotten back into the States. Just came off of Torn Olympic National Park, getting ready to do Mount Rainier. For you, what have been some of the highlights? And I know that's tough, but just like some of the cool things that we've done. I mean,
Or you've done without us,
yeah.
even.
Yeah, you did a
without.
lot of adventures on your own, even.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of went out and did some hikes either with the group or completely by yourself. So, I mean, what were some of the things you just really enjoyed, or things that when somebody asks you how the trip was, are going to be like the first thing off your tongue when we get back to Pennsylvania?
And
Yeah, like you said, that's tough. There's a lot to go around. But, I mean, starting from the beginning, just that first night in Canada, it's kind of like that first night after leaving, the first night in Canada, we're with the group, with you guys, and right after my radiator hose blew, which is fun. But it just kind of sitting there, the realization that, it's actually happening. Like you said, it was a year in the planning, and yeah, just getting out there that first night, that was quite a eye-opening. Just kind of get ready for what's about to happen. It's a lot of like, what's going to happen? What am I going to experience? And then
whole prepping, right?
yeah, it's like all the planning, and now we're in this moment. So that was one of my favorite nights. Was the first night we all sat around the campfire, starting to get to know everybody. And I just got a few highlights. I mean, our trip up to Yellowknife, especially our midnight dip in the Great Slave Lake. That was a highlight.
It wasn't Dan and mine.
That
it was
mine
his
and the rest of the group.
And the rest, yes.
Let's see. Elsewhere in Canada. There at Hot Springs, I could say that was a good one. Getting into Alaska, all the hikes, especially Seward. Seward was one of my favorites, especially because of the friend I made on the trail, which was pretty fun too. Just kind of, 3 hours prior, he was a stranger. By the end, we were practically best friends. So a lot of beautiful hikes up there. Coming back, just seeing all the different things that Alaska is. One second it's hot, sunny, the next it's raining. One second you're in a tundra, next you're in a rainforest. It's like, so overall, coming back,
there's a lot of diversity.
Yes, yeah.
And you realize
I can't just say one thing.
Yeah. There's, I think too, because until you go north in Yukon and BC and Alaska, you don't realize what they have to go through to get their products,
Stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, just
Products
it gives you a
and-
whole different perspective of
It
supply
does.
chain.
The supply chain, the pricing is like very high compared to what we are used
Because
to.
of everything it takes to get up there. I mean,
Yeah.
you figure to
It's
buy bananas in Alaska. Like those things have traveled 3,000 miles to
Yeah.
get to Alaska.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, even
It's
the
not much of a-
gas
not
for
much
us.
of a growing season
Yeah,
up there.
Yeah.
So
there isn't. And
Yeah, now,
so,
One
yeah.
thing that we did find out is Alaska grown vegetables, though, are actually very plush and very ripe because of the long summer days. You know,
That's
so some of
true.
the
Yes.
farmers markets that we visited that had Alaska grown, you know, produce. I never did get my Alaskan carrots. I heard that Alaskan
Really?
carrots were outstanding. We never got any because the ones we did see in the last farmers market after that information got a scroungy. The ones I wanted to get in Palmer, the lady was talking to
Someone else.
someone,
huh?
not a customer. They were just chatting for
Uh-huh.
like 12 minutes. And at that point, I'm like, well, we're on a schedule. We got to go to the muskox farm.
Well, between your
So-
carrots and me wanting the orange beets,
Yeah.
we didn't get them either at Palmer.
Yeah. But it does definitely put into perspective, you know, some of that stuff. I mean, for me personally, my immediate highlight when someone talks to me will be the Northern Lights. And
yeah.
Yes.
honestly,
Uh-huh.
being able to experience it with you guys, and you know, especially you know, becoming that 10-year-old Alex again
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
first saw him, it was so cool. And it was cool for us to just, you know, get up at, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning and cram into his Jeep, you know, because it's not made for 4. It's
Well,
made for
just
2.
technically,
driving
you know.
and for the short distance.
It's
Luckily,
been
it was,
converted to not be made
yeah,
for 4.
and luckily it
Um,
was a short drive. And
yeah.
thank God for the guy at the visitor center that
Yes.
told
Yeah,
us
and
where
he
to
gave
go,
us
everything.
the
yeah.
location, and we
It was
took
great.
him up on it, and we got out there, and it was, you know, half hour, 45 minutes or so, just wondering, you know, if we'd gotten up in the middle of the
Right.
night for no
For
reason.
absolutely, yeah,
And
that was my
then-
biggest
And
one.
then
It
it just
just-
opened up. The
Yeah.
skies opened and it happened.
Yeah,
It was
It
beautiful.
was just so cool and such an incredible experience. You know, to see pictures of it and to experience it are two totally different things. And even the pictures we took are really different than what we saw with the naked eye, which isn't something that I really understood until we got up here and got more educated
Yeah.
about the Northern Lights. I mean, they're much more vivid by the camera. It's one of those things where a lot of times they say a picture doesn't do it justice. Well, it's kind of the opposite
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Northern Lights. A picture, the
Mhm.
camera will pick up colors that you can't see with your naked eye, but seeing the night sky move
Just-
and dance,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't have the vivid colors that, you know, you'll be seeing in these pictures on the video that as we're talking about this, it's pretty amazing to
It
just see
is.
it dance across the sky and move from one spot. And just when you kind of
You'd
think it's over, then all of a sudden,
you'd have one spot
Another
just
spot.
get really bright. And
Yeah.
just
Mm.
looking.
yeah, I mean, it was super,
was
super
neat.
cool. So that will definitely be the highlight for me.
I mean,
That
before
and
that,
Milestone.
it was actually going out and seeing the whales.
Yeah.
All that. And, you
We
know, the
did get
killer
our whales during the Northern Lights
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that's right.
another thing.
That's right. You didn't tell them about that.
Oh, I just remember hearing the blowing sound. I thought there was something in the bushes until I heard splashing, and you know, it was at one after another. I just kept hearing it splashing, and I was kind of, that's a pot of whales out there.
Yeah.
And there's no way it was humpbacks or anything. It could have been, but definitely probably orcas,
Yeah.
which I never got to see them on this trip, but
Mhm.
I'm happy enough just hearing them.
Yeah, and it was
And
cool
we
just
didn't see
knowing they
them
were
because
there.
it was
without seeing them.
nighttime,
and knowing,
yes.
you know, you could tell it was a pod because they were
One after
they were
another,
blowing too
yeah.
quickly for it to be just one whale, you know, blowing, submerging, coming up and blowing his air hole again. So that was cool again, even though we didn't see him, just knowing that they were
right out
out
yeah.
there while we were checking out the Northern Lights. So, you know, what, you know, and again, it doesn't matter which one of you guys decides to answer this first, but what might have been one of your biggest surprises about the trip, whether Canada or Alaska? I mean, just in general, one of your biggest surprises. Who wants to tackle that one first?
Surprises.
I don't think it was a surprise. It just was different. I think the way they welcome you.
Yeah,
too.
very welcoming people.
Very
And they
welcoming.
actually
In Canada
like
and Alaska.
yes,
actually.
and then the way they want you to learn their culture, and they explain things to you of how it goes about to happen.
Just a lot of the just the outdoor everybody knows how to do everything out there. They all got their handmade crafts and stuff and bushcraft, and there's a lot of handmade stuff out there. Like you said, you can't get supplies out there all the time, so it's just different seeing all the way people handle living out there in the when it gets cold, really cold, and 3-hour days in the dead of winter. It's like, people. I thought, like, how do people adapt to that? But you see it out there.
But they also they utilize everything up there
too.
Yeah.
They utilize it to the
especially.
point that there is nothing. I mean, we're talking skins of animals, everything. And just like the birch trees, they use those to make baskets, and they use them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, every little detail is used up there.
A lot of living off the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I definitely love the people, and both the native people,
Yes.
like native, but then you're kind of European, a few generations ago came to Alaska natives. But then I loved hearing the stories of the transplants too, because, and I might have gotten more of this than you guys did just because of my book signings, is, hearing these people that are like, well, back in 1974, I decided I'd come up here for a month and check it out, and I never left, know. And so many of those stories, it's just like, throw the year on it, 74, 86, 02, 2017, it didn't matter, and they fell in love with it. And that was really cool to me, because it was like the same story over and over with a couple unique twists. I came up here, we transferred in the military, and then when my husband retired, or I retired from the military, whoever it was, we just decided to stay because we loved it.
And that's amazing that they liked it that much.
Yeah, well, especially that, considering,
and the coldness.
like what Alex was talking about, adapting to the cold is one thing when you've lived there your whole life, but like
just out of the
when
blue.
you move here from Virginia or Florida or Texas,
was
or
it Mississippi? The lady from the candy
the fudge shop.
Yes,
Skagway.
that's a story I will be coming in the future for a podcast.
And we saw it in the summer. We don't know how it goes in the winter.
Right. Yeah. Can't even imagine. But even stuff like when we spent Canada Day in Haines Junction, talking to those people.
That was very warming.
And again, they were all so welcoming. And then just hearing stuff like, the lady saying, we don't have fireworks for Canada Day.
We take it for granted.
It's like, oh, that's right. You can't have fireworks because it doesn't get dark on July 1st or July 4th in Alaska. So just stuff like that we take for granted is like, oh yeah, we're not going to see fireworks on July 4th when we get to Alaska because it gets dark at 11:30 and the sun rises at 2:30.
3:30.
But
I think we all adjusted to that.
I had no problems at all.
I think
sleeping.
I didn't either, but I think I was up earlier at times because it was light, and then I
that was the
forced
thing.
myself.
If I got up to go to the bathroom at 5
5
o'clock in the morning or something, at that point I was probably up because it was tough.
Right.
See, I was kind of the opposite. I was staying up later, sleeping in a little more, and I found I could even run off of a little less sleep just because daylight
energizes you.
Yeah. And one of the other things for me was just the one of my favorite things was traveling with the group. And that was a lot of fun for me. I loved that first night that you were talking about in Canada, and then like that campground that we were at in Talkeetna where it was just the four of us and sitting around the campfire. And if there was a disappointment for me, is I envisioned us like traveling in a caravan
the whole time,
the entire trip.
So did I. I did.
Where it was like, instead it was kind of, all right, we're leaving at 8, we're leaving at 9:30, we're leaving at 10, whatever the case is. We'll see you at the next campground, and
or we don't.
Kind of
branched off.
So it was fine, but I just kind of anticipated a different experience. It would literally be, one after the other.
That's what I did.
Cruising,
especially once we got to Alaska. We did a lot of following each other in Canada, I'd say, but once we got to Alaska is when we really started to be like, well, we're gonna do this tour and we're gonna do this hike.
Right.
just branched out.
And it didn't work. The tours and hikes just didn't work out for all of us. It just
Not all, yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't.
So, Alex, for you, I mean, we did talk a little while ago about you going out on some of your total solo adventures.
Yes.
We're again right toward the end when we left Chena Hot Springs. We stayed in a state park that night in Delta Junction, and you decided to go down and explore an ice cave and do a little solo hike. What were those experiences like for you, being like totally on your own? I know for your mother it was raised anxiety and worrying about you and thinking,
especially because half the time I didn't have a signal
you're
where I
off
was
grid.
at.
But for you yourself,
Yeah.
How did it go?
I mean, almost kind of in a sense, kind of like that first night in Pennsylvania when I came out, is like, now I'm back on my own. One second I'm with everybody, now I'm back on my own. But I mean, most of the time it was pretty good. I was a lot more well aware of everything, boondocking and what I'm gonna need, and the places in which I can stay, boondock. Especially for me, I'm a little more discreet in a Jeep.
It's tough. This is not very discreet.
Yeah, but
it's a boondocking.
it was just a lot more, when I'm on my own again. Especially that night after Chena Hot Springs, I went and stayed in a pullout just before that trailhead, and I mean, I got out and I was like, what do I do now? Because usually we get to the spot and I come hang out with you guys or talk to Gary or Eric or somebody, but now it's just kind of like, all right. Cooper and I went and explored the creek beds, and I came back, started a fire, and just a lot of getting used to that solo piece again. But it's still all amazing, especially with the experience. I didn't actually find that ice cave, or I did maybe if it had been long collapsed, but it's still pretty neat just to be out there alone in the Alaskan, on the side of an Alaskan highway.
Yeah. We definitely know why they call it America's Last Frontier now.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yes.
Because literally, as huge as what Alaska is, there's
really
like 8 roads.
Oh yeah, no.
It's really not as big as. I
Yeah.
mean, it's bigger than Texas, but really,
A lot bigger than Texas.
they don't have roads.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So
There's
to
not really
think
taking a
of
back road.
and on
the
top of it,
population and the landmass, like it's crazy. Like,
it's not.
That is why it's the last frontier.
Right.
There's just still
There's
so much
so
wilderness
much
that's untouched.
And it's not normal roads, so like
No.
every other state is so fortunate to have what they have. I think I should word it maybe that way or
Traffic's great in Alaska.
Traffic, yeah, traffic
Sure.
is
We
great.
learned that the hard
Realize
way
that.
going from Vancouver to through Seattle. Boy, that was
That
eye opening.
But-
Welcome to the lower 48. Here is your bumper to bumper,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
and that's like I said, people in the lower 48 will never know unless they go up north.
Yeah, I mean,
The
it's
whole
eye-opening.
it is
incredible.
but
Absolutely
it's so
incredible.
peaceful in a way too.
Oh yeah,
You don't have to worry about your cell phone half the time because it doesn't work.
yeah,
You have one-on-one communication, right?
Oh yeah.
yeah. No doubt about
We
that.
we did have time for some card games
Especially
and things
because
like
it
that.
does rain a lot in Alaska, so there was a lot of indoor.
Yeah,
Which was another thing I didn't really realize until we got there. That
how much?
I
I
didn't
mean,
realize
that Valdez is a rainforest, and
Hmm.
just the change in ecosystems throughout that vast
Oh, yeah.
land. Like going to school, like I always think a rainforest is a tropical rainforest.
Yeah, I'm
You
pretty
know,
sure parrots. And,
Very humid, and birds and snakes
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And
But Alaska doesn't have any
not a
snakes.
single snake.
No,
That's a
There's no
huge-
for this
snakes.
guy.
There's
Huge
no
plus.
lizards. What else?
Um,
There's some other stuff.
Yeah, most reptiles are
They're
not up there.
obsolete.
But yeah, I mean, so it's super cool to be able to experience that. And again, just to really understand how big and absolutely beautiful it is up there for sure. So
So if people have a chance,
do it.
definitely
in
get out
time,
there, yeah.
just go out and explore.
I mean, do you think for you, being so young to experience it, do you think that's a positive or a negative?
Definitely
For you.
positive.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I left, I was a completely different person. I mean, just pulled up in work, and actually on my phone too, a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, leaving the day to day, 8 to 5, getting out, traveling, exploring. I mean, I'd never would have pictured myself hiking 11 miles in a day. I would have pictured that being some big excursion.
Really? I would think you would.
I was quite the hiker, but I didn't picture, all that much. And I realized
You didn't picture yourself hiking a glacier.
that too, yes. There's a lot of things I could have never pictured myself doing.
I think we all came out of our comfort zone to a
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I've overcome some
And
things too.
it's just being my age, I got a lot of compliments from
Mhm.
people saying like, I'd tell them when I was 18 or 9, when I turned 19, they're like, "You're only 19? You're out here?" It's like, "Shouldn't you be in school?" It's like, no, I just left work and now I'm out here. I'm traveling with my grandparents and their friends, and people are just amazed by it, and it's inspiring to me because not a lot of people get to experience that. Not a lot of my friends that I graduated with are able to do this, which is fine. There's no problem with that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a dream come true, and I said that when I first got to Montana, and Eric was like, "You didn't know about Alaska." No, but it definitely is not just being in Alaska, but the traveling. I always pictured myself as a kid. Actually, I was wanted a Jeep, and I was wanted a dog to travel with me in the Jeep. Well, one day I was driving, and I was like, "Huh." It actually did come true because now I'm a Jeep. I always thought it'd be a Wrangler, but no, I'm fine with what I got. I got my pup hanging his head out the window. And,
He's a bit tired today, but
Yeah.
he is here with us too. Also, I think for you, it was just like, wow, it's actually here and now it's over. Just
that
about.
too. Well, it's like just started. No,
So no, we met a handful of other younger people.
we did, yes.
Traveling.
Which was another surprise to me.
Okay.
To go back to your
First,
other
yeah.
question
Yeah.
earlier, was like where was that sourdough campground?
Yeah, that young couple.
A couple 18 and 19. I was like, huh, I don't think
That's right. Because yes, I do recall that.
Yeah, and then just the young
They-
couple that we met cliff diving.
Yes,
the other day.
that too. Yeah.
Cliff jumping, I guess it was.
And she
You
said,
tried to dive.
was
turned
that
into a
I
belly flop.
attempted a dive. Yes.
I
That
just
was-
jumped.
Yeah.
But the other thing for me, and that's not just with Alaska, Canada, or this trip in particular, but any trip, are the kind of spontaneous, unplanned moments. And like what we did the other day with the cliff jumping
that was
spontaneous and
You walk
unplanned.
out there, it's a beautiful hot day, you see that water. I was like, I was in a pair of cargo shorts, was wearing a belt, I had my, I was just,
Didn't
well, I
mind.
can't just pass this by, this is perfect. This is the only stuff you only see on social media or movies or whatever. It's like, well, I'm going for it. I don't care what I'm wearing.
And then
Is
as
that
we were,
is that where I read that water's so clear you can see 60 feet down?
Oh yeah.
yeah, and then it's after he did it the first time, we walked a mile back to the RV, and I was like, we're gonna change plans. We originally wanted to go to Hot Springs that afternoon, but it was already getting late, and we kind of changed plans. Like, I want to do that, but I'm in sneakers. I'm in, I want to change. I wasn't like him and wanting to jump in cargo shorts and try to put my sneakers back on. I'm too old for that sort of stuff. So we came back, we changed, and walked another mile down, and then the spot where he originally went, where we wanted to go, was taken. There were, group of young kids there just kind of hanging out, and then there's another really cool spot which is actually higher, and there was a young couple there, and he didn't want to go at first because he was like, well, they're sitting there, and I was just like, I just went up and started talking to him. I'm like, hey, you guys mind if we jump in here a couple times? We're like, no, absolutely. We're getting ready to jump in. So we waited and saw them do their thing. And when they came back up, they're like, are you going to do it? You're going to do it? And they're like, yep, here we go. And we went in again. It was a young couple that, one was from Jersey, one was from Nebraska, and they wanted to get out of there to get to the beach to catch the sunset. But again, just not living by society's rules and not willing to just jump into hundreds of thousands of debt for a 4-year education at that point yet, and just trying to live life. So it was cool to see people like that. But cliff jumping was another highlight for me.
I have a question for Alex. What did you think when you reached the Pacific Coast? Did you imagine
that was
sand, or was it
pretty
an
cool.
eye opener?
I pictured sand. I did picture a lot of cliffs and rocks
Okay.
like it was. So that was, I expected that, but I did not expect the rocks to be like that at all,
Okay.
or all the driftwood coming up there.
And there's a lot up through
A lot of
the
Yeah.
whole Canada, or not Canada, the California.
Washington,
that's a
northern,
ton of
northern Cali
driftwood.
all the way up.
Yeah.
There's
You
just
just see
driftwood
it.
all over.
And I think we
Pacific
did ask someone
Coast.
one time. It's from all the stuff coming
Yeah,
in,
it'll actually
and
come
just,
in from the stream and then wash back up on the.
so it's
Yeah.
some of the trees
Yeah,
are
so
dead.
I always ask, like, how does a huge tree come in from the Pacific Ocean? And it's actually, well, it starts inland,
It
falls
comes
into a
out.
stream,
Yes,
goes
it
out,
goes
and
out.
then gets washed
Yeah.
back up the
Yeah.
shore. And even that, and again, now we're talking about Washington, we're out
I
of
know.
Alaska and Canada, but
Mm.
like the difference in the landscape
Mhm.
from where we're at in Rialto Beach,
Oh yeah.
then
down
to the next day
Yes.
down to
We're back on sand.
yeah, it was just sand like
Yeah,
we would
right.
picture, other than the fact that there were thousands of trees
Dead trees
up
and
against the
Yeah.
that washed in. Again, just makes you understand and get a different perspective of how that geography changes so quickly at times. Because it was less
I
than
know.
probably 30, 40 miles south
Right.
of where
Oh, yeah.
So it
all
does
down
change.
here to beach. Because I honestly didn't expect Rialto Beach. Like, I'm ready to get out there bare feet.
Yeah.
Do my
It
thing.
wasn't an easy.
Terrible,
Even
terrible
flip flops,
mistake.
it was bad, and
I did try to go bare feet for a little bit. And, like, man, there's nothing
it's
fun
even the
about this.
ocean
Yeah.
floor is that stone when you
Yeah.
first go in the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
They're
But-
round stones, but they're still sharp.
Yeah,
They
But
have
then
to
as you
step
get
on
to the water, they're like smaller,
pebbles.
Yeah.
pebbles.
And you sink in still, kind of like you do with sand, but this time it hurts.
Yes.
It's-
Yeah. And then again, another solo adventure for you was your tide pulling.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
I mean,
that
that-
was
that if I've got a regret on this trip,
It's
it
that.
wasn't getting up at 4:30 in the morning and
yeah.
doing
Squished.
tide pulling with him and squeezing into the Jeep again. But
I
It's
kind
okay.
of thought I was going to be disappointed at first because they got tide set. It'll be low tide at 8:30 a.m. It's like, all right, the sun's already up. The tide was at its lowest point at 5:30, 5:45. So of course I had to be out there. It was about a maybe half an hour to 45-minute walk out to where it was good to where there were tide pools and rocks and stuff. So I'm walking down the beach at 5 in the morning. It's dark. I got my headlight on. It's very, very foggy, and there's a few other
whose
people.
headlight did you have on?
But your headlight.
Mine.
Just
It was
kidding.
actually mine.
One of you guys' headlights, and there's a few other people, which made me feel half comfortable. Like, all right, I'm not the only one, but also kind of like imposter. You heard of the imposter syndrome or
Right.
whatever. It's like, do I even know what I'm doing here? What if these people have been doing this
Right.
all the time?
Were there other peoples with you, or people?
There's good people, and I had him with me. Nobody else had a dog. So I was like, people probably looking at me like, this guy, 5 in the morning with his dog. What is he doing? But no, I got out there and I got to the first good tide pool and I saw an anemone, I think is what they're called, which I'd never seen in my life. I thought it was sea urchin at first. I'm like, oh my god,
That
sea
long?
urchin.
The long thing?
Was that
No.
the things that are kind of like a
Oh, it was green or
Bubble. Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
and then I was like, no, that's not sea urchin, but it's still cool. I'd never seen. And then I found a starfish and another starfish.
And they're colored, and
like a
that's where I was
purple
envious
starfish.
of the whole thing.
And it was crazy because, I've found starfish in the wild, especially down in like Florida, but nothing as big and as colorful as these starfish were, which is cool. And after a while, like I said, they kind of got boring after a while because I kept finding so many. It's like, wow, they're really everywhere
It's
out
like
here.
bison.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Wild
like, oh my
bison
god, a
got boring.
bison.
Yes.
Nope, nah, it's just a bison. Yeah, and there was one I didn't know of. It was a very hard-shelled, I forget what it was called, kind of a ribbed, shelled creature of some sorts. I found what it was, but that was one I'd never seen. I thought it was a fossil at first, but no, they're pretty common out there. And yeah, no sea urchins,
Cool.
unfortunately, but Still,
What you
lots
did
and
see
lots
was
of-
amazing.
Yes, yeah.
No doubt about that. Like I
And-
said,
and the
if
rock
I've got a
formations.
regret, that is one for sure. That I should have went.
Place I went was Hole in the
What's that?
Wall. It was called Big
Mm-hmm.
Rock Archway through in one of the rock formations out there.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. So we could certainly talk on and on and on about this this summer adventure, but we'll start to wrap things up. I mean, I know for me to have you come along with this was
Yeah.
totally awesome. To spend every day with our grandson for 3+ months.
Another bit of a lifestyle change. But,
For both.
For both, yeah. Definitely for both. But it's all
was,
very, very fun.
it was a blast without a doubt. And you inherited a whole, group of new grandparents as well who are checking in on you.
So you better
whether you're
answer
back
that.
in- Back in Pennsylvania yet or not, so make sure as you're making that trek back that you are
Take
checking
pictures,
in
check
daily in the WhatsApp group so that everyone knows that you are safe and sound on your solo travels. What are some of your anxieties, on that little week and a half trek solo?
A lot less than there were coming here, for sure. I'm a little more confident in my abilities getting back and a lot more knowing. Getting used to the solo life again. I won't have you guys have been great being able to watch Cooper for me and give him a spot to run around in the RV. So I'll have to get back into the habits of I walk him every day, but I gotta make sure he's running around and not just sitting in the Jeep.
And safe out
And
there
safe,
in the wildlife.
Because, well, like you said, no snakes up in Alaska.
You
I'd
have to
let him
watch
roam
them.
around. Now I gotta get my head back in the game of just
Leashing him and keeping him safe with you.
So that's I think my biggest anxieties are just getting back into that solo lifestyle just for a week.
Yeah. Now, have your plans changed as far as spots you'll stay? Because when we split off from the group, the three of us did a lot more boondocking sort of stuff than what we did as a group. So did that change, like, some of your stops? Like, oh, well, I can just stop at a place like this. I don't have to be at a place like this. Did that change at all?
Definitely, because when I was on my way out here, I was looking for campgrounds and specific dispersed camping sites and all that. And so now I know, like I've found a lot of dispersed camping on the way back, and actually I've come to appreciate campgrounds a little more too because of the fact that they have showers and laundry and hookups and stuff. But I'd say definitely a little more confident in just pulling in. Rest areas are available, pull-outs, and there's all kinds of spots to stay. I mean,
Like I said, you're a lot more discreet than what
discreet.
we are with this thing. But even the other day, you kind of went out on a scouting mission ahead of us to find a spot that we could stay in, and it turned out to be a pretty sweet spot. For either of you guys, what do you think was the sketchiest spot that the three of us stayed in on the way down?
Was that our night before Vancouver? I think was
same here.
Clinton. I think it was called just outside
just
of Clinton.
South of Clinton. We were right along the lake.
Yep.
Right along the highway.
Had trucks.
Random truckers pulling in and out. And that was probably the sketchiest one.
Oh, yes, I do remember. But you know what? Last night I could have used a lot more truckers in that spot. There was a family of kids, and they were just at 11 o'clock last night. They're like, oh my goodness, can you please leave?
I was out by then.
No, I couldn't. I was restless.
It was pretty loud.
I like more noise, like from truckers, engines, and whatever.
All right, so you had actually brought this up because when you and I do our shows, we don't do this question every time, but it seems like you brought it up before we started recording. I'll do it again.
Okay.
So, as you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, coming from the opening lyrics of Michael Frante's song Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So what's one of the little things that you do on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
I don't know anymore. I know what someone did for me yesterday.
Well, it
But
doesn't
that's-
matter about it. That's what you did, and it can
Okay.
change. Like it can change. It doesn't have to be the same answer you gave a year ago. So
I don't know. I cooked a lot of good home cooked meals
Yes,
for you.
yes,
I
you
think
did,
that's
yeah.
what it was for this trip. I don't have anything else though.
Very-
so what did somebody do for you yesterday?
They gave me their arm to get up on that first step at the beach because I couldn't get up. I couldn't grasp anything.
That was a high step.
That was very nice.
It was high and it was very
And
nice to
there was not a handle anywhere.
He
near.
was there and cleaning up with the picnic and the tarp down below at the beach. So it was really nice that he offered that, and I at least could understand. I don't know where he was from, but it was hard. But when he said, "Do you want?" I said, "Yes, please."
So a little thing like that made your day. So
Yes, it did.
your answer? Going
Um,
to stay consistent on the last two times?
no, I can change it up a little bit here.
You can do whatever you want. It's your answer.
I want to say that doing what I'm doing here, you know, being my age, and like you said, there's a lot more people too, but still knowing a lot of people that don't exactly have the confidence to get out and do this, and it was a really hard step for me at first. So I think just having done it, being out here, and you know, knowing that it turned out okay. I had a lot of help,
hmm
but you know, anybody who I can say that, well, I've done this and it's going to be okay. You take that step, you know, it's fine. I think just having the ability to be able to, you know, assure somebody to get out there and see the world. I couldn't have imagined half the stuff I've learned on this trip. I could have never imagined, and I think that, you know, everybody should get to experience something along the lines of just taking that step. And you know, you guys experienced it when you sold your house 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, just being able to assure anybody, doesn't have to be my age, could be a little older or anything, I don't know, that, you know, it'll be okay. You can take those steps.
And we do that all the time.
You do, yeah.
Every person we meet. In fact, I have to bring this up because his mother and son were special yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
They were
as
very
we
special.
were waiting in the
He was
2-hour line to get into
curious.
the Hoh Rainforest in Olympic National Park. And Mom and a young boy were walking next to our RV while we're
For a while.
literally crawling in line, you know, inching up.
Her
Inch by
her
inch.
mother was back in the car
and-
driving about 3 or 4 cars
Yeah,
lengths behind
and
us.
just ended up striking up a conversation with us, telling us that you know, her son was just enamored with campers in general and had questions for us, and you know, so we just kind of had a nice little conversation through the passenger
was
window of the
great. I
RV
feel like
with him and his mom, and it was a lot of fun. And
It
then
was.
ended up seeing him where we had dinner. As we were finishing dinner, I was the last one out. I happened to see her coming in to where we had just had dinner and just had a conversation as well. And they're from Boise, Idaho, so who knows? Maybe we'll see him in a couple of weeks at my
Signing,
book
yeah.
signing in
They
Garden
were
City. Would be super
Little boy
cool.
was special too.
Yeah,
And she
it
was a veterinarian. It was
yeah.
just, we clicked just talking. You can tell.
Yeah. And those are things, and you and I
It
talked
means a
about
lot.
this in our first episode. Is just, and you mentioned about the guy on the hike who all of a sudden
Yeah.
like you became best friends. Those experiences are by far, you know, without a doubt the best. You know, where you just
Right.
connect with somebody and maybe you establish a relationship with them and you stay in contact, or maybe that's the only time you'll ever see them. And either way, it just kind of leaves this indelible mark. And you know, we talked about the guy in the old schoolie that, as we were going up the Alcan, you know, we happened to bump into him 3 or 4 times in a
Right.
row. That
Yeah.
we just, you know, we saw him at the hot springs, and then we saw him when we got to the Sign Forest, and then we didn't see him anymore after that. And you know, again, just different people like that who you happen to, you know, cross paths with, and you connect, and then all of a sudden they're out of your life for a while, but they still leave a pretty special spot on you.
I do.
So super cool, and I'm glad you've been able to experience that firsthand, because I think people who don't experience that, to hear us talk about it, it doesn't really resonate until you do, you know, have that moment with someone and just connect, and then all of a sudden they're gone. So it's pretty cool for sure. So, as always, for folks out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com. While you're there, check out the Pay It Forward program, pick up a book, and we will donate it somewhere along our travels for you. So, you guys, thanks for taking the time to do this. Safe travels and on your way back.
And keep us informed where you're at.
Yes, we'll see you in October.